Clientless VPN on the Palo Alto Firewall. In this video I'm gonna show you how to configure it. Let's do it! So we are now connected to my domain controller in my lab, and if I go to Tools, Active Directory, Users and Computers, I can show you the groups and the users that I have that are configured on my Active Directory. I'm showing you this because the firewall is going to be connecting through LDAP to the Active Directory to authenticate the users and also to do the group mapping. And here I already created a user called Arthur. Account Arthur at at.netsums.com. This is the user logon name or user principal name. And this user is a member of a group called G_FW_clientless. We're going to be using this group to authenticate the users later on the firewall. If you need some help configuring LDAP, I have already a video where I show this configuration very detailed. In this video here, I'm going to just go a little bit quicker. If you need some help, I'm going to leave the link from the video in the description. Take a look later on. But now here, I'm going to concentrate more on the clientless VPN. So let's go to the panorama to take a look at my LDAP configuration. So now I'm on my panorama. I usually configure my firewalls using Panorama. If you don't know, Panorama is the management appliance from Palo Alto, where you can configure many firewalls in a centralized appliance. So for the LDAP configuration, we're going to go to Device. And under Server Profiles, you can see LDAP. And there I already have an LDAP profile configured. It's pointing to my domain controller where we were just now. And there I have a service account that I use only for this LDAP connection. Like I said in the other video also, I am not requiring in my case SSL or TLS for the secure connection because I'm on my lab, but this is strongly recommended if you're in production. So this LDAP configuration, we are binding to an authentication profile. And under this configuration profile, I have the type LDAP and my server profile, the one that I just showed you, here selected. And I'm going to be using my user principal name to authenticate the user. Under advanced, I have an allow list of everybody. And the last thing I want to show you is under user identification. There's a menu called group mapping settings, and there I created a group mapping. And here I selected the LDAP server profile. And under search filter, I enter the G_FW and then an asterisk. The file is only going to search or is only going to synchronize the groups that start with the G_FW. We're going to use this group mapping later on when we configure the portal, because we're going to only allow users that belong to certain Active Directory groups to connect. And under user and group attributes, I want to use the user principal name instead of the same account name. As a standard, the same account name is the primary username, and here I just inverted. I included the user principal name on top and the same account name on the bottom. Just go to OK. Okay, so now I'm connected to my firewall. So let's take a look if Arthur has been synchronized. So show user IDs, match user Arthur at ad.netsums.com. There you go. So it's showing that the Arthur is in the group G_FW_clientless. There was a second group, I think it was domain users, but of course it's not being synchronized because it doesn't start with the G_FW. But we can see the group mapping is working. Under netsums.com/resources, you can find some resources like a cheat sheet or a VPN connection sheet. Take a look. netsums.com/resources. So now back to Panorama. So let's take a look at the licenses now. If you go to Panorama and go all the way down to device deployment licenses, we can take a look at the GlobalProtect gateway. Which file is this? The PAVM. This is my virtual machine. I have a license that's still valid, and we need this license for the clientless VPN. Okay, one more thing that we need to take a look at is under device, the dynamic updates. you have to be sure that you're synchronizing or that you're downloading and installing the latest clientless VPN in order to get the most updated information from Palo Alto. And I almost forgot, we need to create the zone for the users who are accessing through clientless VPN. So for that we go to Network, and under Zones, I already have the zone created. And this zone is a layer 3 zone. And please don't forget to enable the user identification. Now we have prepared everything and we can start configuring our clientless VPN. So for that, under Network, where we are, there's GlobalProtect, and there we need to go to Clientless App. We are gonna create a new app. So we're gonna click on Add. This app is gonna allow me to open an HTTP connection to an Ubuntu server that I have in my network. I'm gonna call this Ubuntu 1 HTTP access, like this. Copy this, paste in my description, and here application home URL. I'm gonna type ubuntu 1.ad.netsums.com. This is the address, this is the URL for my server. So here I can download an icon for the app, and I'm just gonna click on this symbol and go to my download, and here I have Ubuntu and Microsoft IIS already prepared for this. So I click on Open and click on OK. Here I can take a look to see the symbol. It's a rather big one, doesn't matter. Click on OK. And I'm gonna prepare a second app. So I'm gonna go to Add again. Name, I'm gonna call it user ID 1 HTTPS access. This is a Windows server. It's called user ID 1. I use it for another video. I installed the Microsoft web server on it with a certificate, and this can be reached under HTTPS user ID 1 adnetsums.com. Description, I'm gonna just copy this and give it a symbol. Microsoft IIS. Okay. We are gonna group these two applications in one group, so we can go to Clientless App Groups, go to Add. I'm gonna call this Netsums App Group. I'm gonna select both apps. You can use these buttons move up and move down to sort your applications. For me, it's just fine like this. So press OK. Now we need to configure DNS proxy. We're going to tell the firewall now which DNS server you should use for the clientless VPN connections. So I'm going to click on Add. Name is going to be Netsums DNS proxy. Server profile, I'm going to enter a new one. I'm going to click on DNS server profile. Enter Netsums DNS server from profile. Primary DNS 192.168.4.10. This is my DNS server. And that's it. That's all we need. Click on OK. And click on is in advanced. I don't need anything here. Okay. Click on OK. There. Now we're going to go to the portal. So under GlobalProtect, portals, click there. And we're going to add a new portal. So go to Add. Name, I'm going to call this portal _ and now the URL that this portal is supposed to be reached. In my case, vpn.netsums.com. The interface is going to be my outside interface, Ethernet 1.1. This interface has a private IP address, but don't worry, I have a net router that allows the connection from the internet to my portal. Okay. Authentication. So here I'm going to choose vpn.sums.com. This is a profile that I have already created. It has the certificate for the vpn.netsums.com URL. Under client authentication, we're going to click on add. Name netsums LDAP. OS any. My authentication profile is going to be my LDAP authentication profile. And here on the bottom, we're going to choose yes, because we don't need, or we're not requiring a client certificate. Click on OK. Certificate profile, if you're not requiring certificates, any certificates, leave it at none. Here under agent is where you would configure a VPN connection for the GlobalProtect client if you require an app on the client. We are gonna be configuring under Clientless VPN. Just wanted to mention that you can configure both agent and agentless, or agent and clientless, under the same portal. This is possible. This is allowed from Palo Alto. In our case here, we're just configuring the clientless VPN, but I just wanted to mention that you can configure both. So under clientless VPN, you have to allow this, and then you can configure. The host name is gonna be vpn.netsums.com. This is the URL that the portal is gonna be reached through. ESS, FQDN, or IP address. You can use also an IP address if you want. The security zone is going to be the one that we created, this one, GP minus clientless. This security zone is the source zone that the clients are going to be using after they connect to the portal. I'm going to show you later on the monitor, we're going to see. But when the clients come, before they access, in my case, the clients are going to come from the outside interface. And after they connect, they're going to switch to this GP clientless zone. This is important whenever you're configuring your firewall rules to know this switch that they do. DNS proxy, the one that we created. And this is just fine. Applications. I'm going to click on add, and here I'm going to give a name, netsums apps, the user or user groups, and then under applications we're going to add the group that we created. You can also add single applications here, but as a best practice I like to create a group. I'm going to click on OK. Crypto settings, I'm going to disable some stuff. The minimum version that I want is TLS 1.2. And I'm going to disable, oh, okay, already disabled, so it's good. You can also take a look here under server certificate verification. Like I said, if you're in production, you should block all this stuff. But in my lab here, I'm just going to leave this just like this. Proxy and advanced settings, you can take a look if you need something for you. For this lab, we're just going to be fine with this configuration. Click on OK. Now let's go to the security rules. So under policies, need to go to the PAVM. I already have this rule here, the number 10, that allows my LDAP connection to my domain controller. What we need now is a rule that allows the clients to connect to the portal. Let me show you something now. I have as a default rule, I have here an override for the intrazone. So for my intrazone, the default is to allow everything. In my case, I have a deny. So in my case, I need a rule that allows the connection from outside, from the internet to my portal. So I'm going to add this rule. So allow internet portal. Source is going to be outside. Address is going to be any. Destination is going to be also outside. And my destination address is going to be, wait, I have an address, I have a PAVM. Okay, I don't have one. I'm just create one. PAVM outside 172.16.0.1.1. Application is gonna be web browsing and SSL. And the connection is always using 443. So here, I'm gonna create a new service. Service TCP 443. 443. Oops, not here, but here. Click on OK. And click on OK. So this is the route that's gonna allow the connection from the internet to the portal. And now we're gonna configure a new rule to allow the connection from the users. Allow clientless apps to allow the connection after the users connect to the portal. So this is the zone. After the users connect, they're gonna come using from the zone GP minus clientless. The source address we're gonna leave any, because the file, actually in this case, the file does a NAT. So the information that leaves the file, or the information that the application sees, the application doesn't really see the IP address from the client that's coming from the internet. It sees the IP address from the file, because the file does a NAT. We're gonna see later on. But here for the rule, we need to enter the IP address from the client in the internet. In this case, any. I don't know from which IP address the client is coming from. And as a destination, we're gonna enter, in my case, is lab 2, and inside. And I have here the Ubuntu 1. There you go. And the user ID, I don't know if I have, okay, I don't have. User ID. And the user ID is actually not the user ID 1, has the 10.02.11. So these two, and the applications web browsing and SSL. Application default, allow. So these are my two rules, allow internet portal and allow clientless app. Now we are ready to commit the configuration. So I had a problem committing my configuration. Here under DNS proxy, I had to change something. If I go to netsums DNS proxy, okay, I cannot change from this to, I need to create a new one. So I'm gonna call it netsums DNS proxy shared. And here instead of this is one, I'm gonna choose shared. And here I can enter my primary 410. I'm gonna click on OK. So instead of using a DNS profile, I'm gonna enter my DNS name directly here. And on my portal, under clientless VPN, I'm gonna choose this one with the shared. And now I'm gonna erase this one so my commit can go through. You can take a look if your firewall supports. My firewall is a virtual firewall. It didn't support this configuration, so I'm gonna click on commit and push. And let's see what happens now. So now the commit worked. So let's go make a test. So now I'm actually connecting from a client that's in my network. I'm not in the internet, but the idea is the same. So now let's try the connection to the portal. So we're gonna enter https vpn.netsums.com. So now we can log in, author at ad.netsums.com. It's password. There you go. We're logged in. Now we have here in the middle the both apps that we configured. they are clickable. And we have also on the right side on top the possibility to enter manually an URL, a new one different to these ones. And you can also you also have the possibility to go to the GlobalProtect agent. I'm gonna click on this so you can take a look. You can also download the agent. Let's stay here on this clientless portal. So now I'm gonna click on Ubuntu 1. And there you go. We have the connection to the Ubuntu server. And this is an HTTPS to my Windows server. It's also working. Now let's take a look at the Linux server to check with which IP address the application sees this connection. So now I'm connected to my Linux server. And if I enter this command, I'm gonna see the IP address. I'm gonna see, among other things, the IP address that my application, in this case my web server, is seeing regarding my client. So let me close this. If I click here on the Ubuntu, I don't see anything here on the left side because it's already a cached server, a cached page. And now if I refresh, there. Let me refresh again. Refresh, refresh, refresh. So every time I refresh, I see that my application can see the IP address 10.0.1.1. This is the IP address from my firewall. This is the closest IP address from my Linux server. My Linux server has the IP address 10.0.1.17. So this is the egress IP address from the firewall, and it's making that. Let's take a look now at the firewall. So this is the firewall. And if you click here from zone, GP, clientless, we should see the connections going to my Linux server. So this is the one. I don't think it will resolve. I did resolve. So I have here the Ubuntu and I have here the user ID. Here under net source IP, you can also see it resolved to the PAVM, is the Palo Alto virtual machine. And this is the inside interface. And this is the lab 2 interface. Let's do it without resolving now. And you can see that it's not resolved, it's netting using the source IP address 10.0.1.1. And here to my Windows server, which is in another network, has a 10.0.2.11. It's netting using the IP address 10.0.2.1. So it's the egress interface to the servers. If you click on this icon here, we can see here in the middle as a source the net IP address that it's using. And also the source user is the author. And for my Windows server, we're using HTTPS. So it's port 443 and it's using port 80 to my Linux server. Just wanted to mention something else here regarding the security. If you want, you can also, on this allow clientless app, you could also include as a source the source user, which could be this clientless. When there's a match in this rule, it means that the user is already logged in. Otherwise, this zone won't be necessary. So the user is logged in, so the firewall is going to apply this zone to the connection from this user. So you can use also this group. I'm just going to leave like this, press OK. And one other thing, you could enter after this rule if you want. In my case, it's not really necessary, but if you want, you can click on Add and enter here a new rule called deny clientless. You enter as a source clientless, destination any action, either deny or drop. I'm gonna select deny because this is only gonna work if the user is already connected. So it's gonna be like, let's say an internal rule. So I'm gonna leave the deny. And this rule has to come to the bottom. Yeah, there you go. That's the right position. So it means that the client won't be able to connect to anywhere else, only to whatever you allow on this with this rule. This deny rule makes sense because you do have these two options here that the user can choose, but you have also here an application URL field that the user can enter a new URL, for example youtube.com, and if you click on go, the connection would be, the user would be redirected to the youtube.com if it was not blocked. So it can make sense in your environment to add a deny rule there. In my case, it's not being blocked, so it's just gonna be searching the whole time and you won't find the youtube.com. So guys, thank you very much for watching this video until the end. I hope you got some value from the video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Hit the like button, and maybe this video here can help you also further with more Palo Alto configuration, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.